I love the people. I absolutely adore the small town people, except I have a friend that lives out in Texas, and she kept saying, "Where are you? There is no pin drop for this place. I have Googled it. It's not on the map. Y'all don't exist." I said, when she brags all the time. I mean, I love her, you know. Texas people. They're real proud. That's good. Happy for you. So I knew I was in for it. So she said, "Listen, I'm flying into Augusta, Georgia. Pick me up," because we're close to Augusta. So I picked her up, going down the road. You know what? She started it. She looks up, said, "What's that little tiny thing that just ran across the road?" I said, "That's a rabbit." She said, "What?" "Mighty small in Texas. They come on up to here." I said, "Really? You have to do this?" And then a little while later, she said, "What's up on a hill, Jane?" I said, "That's a goat." She said, "Goat? Mighty small in Texas. We grow them up to here." So I took her to my pond Thomas had dug, and there's this great big turtle crossing the road. She said, "What is that?" I said, "A tick."
Well, hey, everybody. We're back, and I am so excited. We have had so many folks enjoy the noon show, and I love it because we are in the spirit of Jeanne, and we miss her terribly. But let me just tell you, she put a footprint on so many of my guests, and the guest I am sharing with you today is going to bless you because she's funny. She's a stress buster. She's from the Midwest. She and I had the best experience recently, and we really got to know one another. I've always loved Kay Francis, but I got to know her. We'll have to tell you about that. You know, we had to find the humor. I mean, we're humorists, so we try to find the humor. So let's welcome. Da 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 da. You ready, girl?
Yes.
Here she is. Here's Kay. What the world?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Are we on? Oh, I think I had something in my teeth. How that's embarrassing. Sorry.
I saw
think
you
there's a
doing,
lag.
Well, I saw you doing that, and I'm going, "Oh, I can't bring her in yet." And then I thought, no,
You know, everything I do is intentional.
So we actually, about a month ago, Kay, was it, in NSA did that comedy night.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. But you've got to share your introduction. I about fell out of my chair. That was hilarious.
The one I just told you about?
Yes, that was so
you know,
funny.
Of course, I give presentations. I'm a funny motivational speaker. I speak on stress and humor. And so one of the intros I've been using, because they always have someone, they usually read your intro, but I have them read it and they say, Mount Everest climber, Olympic gold medalist, Rhodes Scholar. Our next speaker is none of those. She's just a regular person who's had a lot of stress and change in her life, which is about the truth, you know. And you know, Jane, when I first made the transition from comedy to speaking, which, by the way, I'm coming up on 39 years. I heard you were at a veteran speakers event, and I go, I guess 39 years isn't long enough to be a veteran. But but anyway, and I lost my, first of all, I'm just coming out of menopause, and there's times I look and I go, "Who's in my camera, and why are you in my living room?" So I lose my.
Where did this come from? Where did all this? What? I woke up with this. I ain't used to have this. You know, speaking of that, I had a little line filled in here right there, and so this girl in our church, and so I went to her little studio place, and she went, "Oh, there's just not one. There's a lot." So she did all this, and I went, "Oh my gosh!" So I looked like a duck, but I didn't have my lips done. Oh my gosh! So I mean, I wore a mask, obviously, because I looked like a duck.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm going, it'll, swelling will go down. And then, so back to the point of, getting older. So all of a sudden, I went up to Thomas. He said, let me see it. And I took the mask off, and he went like that. And he said, "Well, it'll get better, but what are you going to do about?" I went, "Okay, that's war."
Well.
So what are we going to do about that?
I'm glad the lady I know when I was young, I never went around doing this. I never did that
but you are beautiful. I think your skin is probably never seen the sun. Like in the South, we just
sunblock.
We just get crispy. I mean, we go
Yeah.
darker, darker. We
Yeah.
love the
Well,
fun.
I did when I was younger. Yeah, but I since about age 30, I've stayed out of the sun. I don't stay
Yeah.
out of the sun. I sunblock to death. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the outdoors.
Smart.
Yeah.
So, yes, back to getting older. I had to digress on that. Yes, girl, we are all getting there, and it
I
does
know.
happen.
You know,
But
how you know you're getting older when when the website asks for your year of birth and your finger cramps from scrolling down trying to find it. That's how you know you're getting older.
you remember what Jeanne used to say? She could hear herself wrinkling at night and going, like,
Like,
oh,
oh my
Lord, I
goodness.
tell you what. Well, you know what? But you got to laugh all the way through it because we're not the only ones going on this aging journey.
That's right. That's right. And this is something I just thought of today. This isn't like a bit I do. I actually just thought of this today. I thought, I feel like I can't make any mistakes. Like I can't forget something. I can't do something wrong. I feel like it's
Mhm.
just, especially around younger people, are like, yeah, she's old. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I thought maybe everybody goes through that. Like if a younger person makes a mistake or forgets, you're like, youth. So maybe there's
Oh,
that
no
window
kidding.
between 30 and 45 where nobody questions, if you make a mistake, you're just human. But I feel like we're not allowed to be human anymore.
Oh, no. Oh, no. One little slip. What's my daughter saying? Mama, what's wrong with you? Did you forget anything else today? I mean, she's interviewing me and I'm going, I can't remember.
I
I forgot.
can't remember if I forgot anything.
What are you talking about? So, Kay, before we talk about our incredible Uber journey, I want you to just talk a little bit about what is your absolute, because people love to laugh on this show, I call it, but what is your favorite funny story to tell when you speak? And you are a busy girl. That means you are good at what you do.
Oh boy, I'm feeling the pressure of my favorite.
Or the one that you think gets the biggest chuckle or the biggest ha ha, because you're funny. Your website, go to kfrancis.com. It is so good. You can type in speaker, and Kay is on page 1 of Google. I mean, I'm going, what? I type in Jane Hurlong, she's a spun figure from South Carolina, enter. Oh, page 8. Yay.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm not as so much as coming out of stand up. I'm not a rat-a-tat-tat, but I'm also not really what you call a storyteller, but it is kind of a story. It's
Or
when I
just one
talk
of your favorite bits.
Well,
You
when I
know, you
talk
can,
about my mom, I mean, that's some
uh,
of my best stuff. And it's funny. This is a plug for you. And I wouldn't do this. Listen, we have a lot of speaker friends, and God
yeah,
love them. Some of their books are better than others. That's just the truth. And I wouldn't
I love them.
come on their show and artificially, I just wouldn't do it. But I want to tell you now, a lot of our speaker friends will ask us to review their book. And and I'm happy to do that. Well, Jane sent me her book, Sweet Tea Secrets of the Deep Fried South. And so I started perusing. I went, oh, this is good. This is good. It actually got to where I would say if you finish the dishes, you'll get to go back to Jane's book. That's how.
Oh, which
And
is
I do
sweet.
want people to know it's in all the Cracker Barrels. I just think that's something. I'm not in
Let
all
me
the
tell
Cracker
you.
Barrels.
Yeah, but what
Ham is not even in all the Cracker Barrels. I'm
that
just
was,
saying it's big.
oh, thank you. That was very sweet. So
But
sweet.
the tie-in with my mom is that I had to laugh because so many things you said, I thought, well, that's my mom. That's my mama. And then I remembered,
Oh,
oh, that's right. She's from the South. See, I grew up in Ohio. I was born in Kentucky, but grew up in Ohio. But my mom's from Richmond, Virginia. So I was like, well, mom did that. Mom said that, and so any time I talk about my mom's stories and I don't know why, when I was a kid, I guess because there was 4 of us, one of my favorite pastimes was aggravating my mom. Who does that? I mean, it was a
Mhm.
way to get it. Looking back, I see that it was a way to get attention. Attention. I actually enjoyed it. And we had this neighbor named Miss Johnson and Mrs. Johnson, but Miss Johnson. So Miss Johnson was one of those people, oh, the world's going to end. And you hated to ask her how she was doing. She'd go, not so good, Well, I knew my mom would always go, hey, Miss Johnson. And she'd grab me and we'd jump in the car so we wouldn't have to engage with her. So knowing my mom didn't want to engage, I would engage. Like I'd want to see her. Well, I go, hey, Miss Johnson. And mom would say, stop asking Miss Johnson how she's doing. But you will enjoy this. Now, this is sort of generational, but you remember doing Vietnam. They had
Oh, yeah.
something called guerrilla warfare. And it was spelled
Mhm.
Guerilla. One day I was out and I said, "Hey, Miss Johnson, how you doing?" "Oh, not so good. I was watching the news on the TV last night, and it's not enough our boys have to fight the Vietnamese. Now they got the guerrillas chasing them." She heard guerrilla warfare. She thought it was actual like animals that they were having to wrestle. Isn't that
What?
a hoot?
That's
I
a
know.
scream.
I know. And my mom was tough. Her dad met at Quantico, Virginia. They were Marines during World War II, and that's where they met. So I was raised by two old school teachers, both from the South, both Marines. So we didn't have a prayer. Well, mom would drag us to church 17 miles every Sunday on a winding country road. We lived out in the middle of nowhere, 17 miles.
Oh
And
my
we took this
goodness.
elderly woman. Well, the four of us kids just crammed in the back seat. I was sick every Sunday. Well, first of all, mom would take the chicken out of the freezer and lay it out on the counter for days. I had a lot of stomach aches as a kid. So, we're in this winding country road, that crinoline dress, no air conditioning, that salmonella chicken casserole on my stomach, and we'd get frisky. Well, my mom had no patience for this, and she was not going to stop. And she'd say, "I have had enough of that messing around in the backseat. Y'all put your heads up here," and we'd do it. All four of us. It was like a Mount Rushmore of brats. She would reach back and play our heads like a xylophone. Except my brother'd stick my head up there.
Oh, the sweet
So the mom
childhood
stuff.
memories.
Oh goodness, yeah. It just goes on and on. But then I ended up being her caregiver. One day I was a stand-up
Aw,
comedian in New York City, and the next day I was my mom's caregiver. My dad passed away
goodness.
suddenly. I went back to Ohio, and I realized that mom was sicker than I thought. And I thought, well, I'm going to stick around for about a month. Well, any caregivers know that story. A month turned into 6 months, turned into a year. 7 years I was mom's caregiver. And I don't regret it. And I try not to whitewash it. But what really got us through it, Jane, was her optimism, her sense of
Mhm.
humor, and Scrabble. A
Oh,
lot of Scrabble.
oh my goodness.
I don't know if you realize, but Scrabble is an 8-letter word for no mercy. Oh, it was bloodlust. You would know your mother and daughter. When one of I'm catching up with you. Can you feel my sweet breath on your neck? And the other was almost like a script. You go, "Yeah, I feel your breath on my neck. I feel your halitosis, acidosis, expialidocious breath on my neck." It became a contest to see how many adjectives we could add. One time my mom goes, "Yes, I feel your breath on my neck. I feel your hot, putrid, vile, halitosis, acidosis, expialidocious breath on my neck." Like, oh my God. We cracked ourselves up. One time
Oh
I
my
took her down to
gosh.
H&R Block to get her taxes done. I figured it'd take about an hour. I said, "When you're ready, call me. I'll come get you." About an hour later, the phone rang. I picked it up. I said, "I feel your hot, putrid, vile, halitosis, acidosis, expialidocious breath on my phone." There's a little pause. The man said, "Yes, this is H&R Block. Your mother's ready to be picked up." I was just waiting for the call from Elder Services. Yes, reported calling a sweet elderly woman, expialidocious breath.
Well, I got so many mama stories too. I
Oh,
mean, good grief. I mean, my mother was very funny, and it taught me the value of seeing funny in
yes,
things.
yes.
And so we shopped all the time. I will never forget. And she had to have like colonoscopy. And I remember she kept saying, "I cannot tolerate," she loved that word. "I cannot tolerate this drink. Go get me some ice. It'll help me." So as I'd go get ice, she would pour it in my cup.
No.
Her colonoscopy serum, and I
Ew.
would feel my stomach churn. And finally, I said, "Mama, you're doing good drinking that." And she gave me a grin. I said, "Have you been pouring that stuff in my cup?" She said, "Well, I
No.
need some help." So she had the colonoscopy.
No.
I could have had one with her. Got a door.
Yeah, no doubt.
So afterwards, and I was really concerned because I knew she had to have 2 liters of oxygen, caregiver stuff that people would know. And then the doctor came in and he said, "How many liters of oxygen?" I said, 2. And he said, so we shopped all the time. "She keeps chanting a word." And I said, "What?" He said, "Chico's." I went, "Oh, we're supposed to go shop there after." And so we did. We ended up at Chico's right after that. But
Oh my
then when it came to close to the end, I just wanted to make sure Mama was going to heaven,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I grabbed her hand, and she was really just groggy, and it was
Oh,
her
yeah.
heart, and it was just so hard. And I remember just stroking her hand. And I said, Mama, are you ready to go? And she perked up. She said, are we going back to Dillard's? I went, no, not this time. But to the end, she was
Yes.
teaching me. And even after she passed away, she had notes all over the house. Some of them I cannot share because they're really Southern raunchy. But speaking of that, I want to interject one thing. I'm writing another book. Can you believe it?
No, what a shock. Because you should. You're that is your superpower, I'm telling you. I mean, you've got so many, but really your writing is amazing.
Well, and I need you to help me with this. I'm glad you brought that up about taking care of your mama. And so my friend Eva Marie
what
Everson.
times it get to be? I am so busy. I can't. No, go ahead.
I'm telling you, it's cute. It's called Raisin Bells. That's the working title. And it's advice our mamas told us that all y'all need to hear. And so I've been interviewing people. So if you can think of something, and anybody who wants to contribute, please do. Like my good friend in the Baptist church, who's the organist, she said her mama had her convinced that if she went out on a date and French kissed, she was going to get pregnant. Stuff like that,
Who amongst us hasn't heard that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff people have told me that their mama said. Anyway, just
I know, and all that wisdom, that that mom wisdom. I actually wrote a speech. I was a charter member of a Toastmasters club in my mid-20s. Yeah, I've actually been at this a minute, and I actually won the District 40 humorous speech competition. This before I ever did stand-up or anything, and so. It was called Parents Say the Darndest Things. Remember Kids Say the Darndest Things?
Oh, yeah.
Parent, all those things like pick up your room. And I'm like, it's too heavy. It's too heavy. And all my little snarky comments. Of course, my dad, he was just, he was the same too. I wasn't supposed to date this boy, long story, but let's just say I didn't listen. I was sneaking out. And I used to tell my friend across the street, I'd say, I'm going to go meet Gary, but I'm telling my mom and dad I'm at your house. I was like 16. And, well, I got careless, and I just go up the street and sit in his car is all I do, but I got careless and forgot to tell her. Well, here comes Cheryl bounding across the street. Knock, knock. Hey, is Kay home? No. Kay's at your house. You are right. She's really quick. Her dad was a major in the Air Force. Man, she had to learn to really think fast on her feet. She's in trouble all the time. She goes, you are correct. But she left there, and I can see her doing this too. And she was stop at Lynette Perkins' house. She goes, listen, I need to go up and leave her a note for homework. He goes, yeah, you go right ahead. She goes up the stairs to my room, and then she leaves. Well, I come home. Dad says, where you been? I said, I'm all cut. I'm like, Cheryl's. Let's just try this again. Where you been? Cheryl's? I'm going to ask you one more time. Where have you been? Of course, I didn't know any. I didn't get to the note. I didn't make it to the. I said, Cheryl's. He took the phone book, the Wilmington phone book, which if you small town, the phone book back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like it was like a pamphlet. And he threw it across the room at me. Well, in typical dramatic teenager fashion, I said, I'm just glad we don't live in Cincinnati or I'd be dead. So that was how I closed my Toastmaster speech. I actually showed, I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wilmington phone book.
Good.
Yeah.
That is funny, Kay. That's so you did stand up in New York. How in the world did you get there? And I will tell you, the best speakers in our speaker association and on the planet come from comedy clubs because they know how to command the attention and do that quick-witted humor.
Well, it's the trenches, and it's really funny. I was just in Asheville, North Carolina. I remembered being in Fayetteville, North Carolina at a club when I was doing the comedy clubs. And it was so bad. We called it Vietnam. I mean, it was like this one nighter with, everything but the chicken wire around the stage. They had the ball games on, just every nightmare you could think of, and we dreaded it, but we needed the money. So everybody went through Vietnam. If you did this string of jobs through the South, you had to go through Vietnam. So I think that's part of it. I think it gets to where you you run out of worry cards because you've just been beat up night after night after night. They used to have a saying in New Yorkers, you'd wait maybe till 2 a.m. and the last two drunks, the club was open till the last people left. So it could be 2, 3 in the, as long as those two people were there, and they'd be there, they're drunk, they're making out, but you're like, please don't leave, please don't leave. You didn't to do your 5 minutes, please don't leave, please don't leave. And there was a joke in New York, if you can make a room full of empty chairs laugh, now you're really onto something.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like, yeah. So that must be it. I don't know. It was a bizarre thing. As I was doing the road, I actually started in Oklahoma, where I was transferred for a job, and I was just bored and lonely, and started doing stand up. And I worked for 3 companies in a row by the time I was 28 that went bankrupt.
Oh, good.
And I thought, that's it. I had an MBA, everything. I was doing the corporate thing. I said, that's it. I'm going to trash this MBA, go on the road and be a touring stand up comedian. Of course, my joke is, boy, were my parents proud. I didn't even know how to tell them. I thought, well, I won't come out and tell them what I do. I'll just describe it to them. So I said, well, I work late at night and show people a good time. Oh my Lord, our daughter's a hooker. I said, no, they laugh when I perform. And she's not even good at it. So yeah.
That's like the Marvelous Miss Maisel. I think we talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh. I'm thinking, that show. It's got some wordy dirds in it, and I have to put it on mute when Thomas, because he's my moral compass. He's and so, but I thought that whole premise was so funny.
I can think, I have my boundary of stage of what I allow in and out. And believe me, when you leave the stage, and I'm extremely secular on stage. That's just a choice that I made. I said, I am. When I leave, you don't know, have a whiff of my religion, my politics, my sexuality, my marital status. I don't even talk about that. I don't talk about anything that's I talk about my life, me and my life, obviously, but it's really more about them. And so and I'll tell you, Jane, you've probably had this through the years too. I'm in recovery from drug and alcohol abuse. I'm 30. I always keep losing track. 36 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Sure.
That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you. But I do this thing about Thomas Edison, how he tried 6,000 different elements before he developed the light bulb.
Yeah.
And I said, you imagine trying and failing something 6,000 times?
Yeah.
Imagine his friends around try 4,000. They're like, Tom, dude, give it up. Candles aren't that bad. Let's go get a beer. He's like, no, I got to make a light bulb. 4,000. Give me that cat hair. 4,000 too.
Yeah, give me that red beard here. Hair. I'm saying he pulled something out of a guy's beard one time.
Yeah, that's right. So I was doing a faith-based hospital, and so I was having 2 presentations. I did that one. She comes up after me, and sometimes I talk about being in recovery, and usually when it's healthcare like that, I do. And she comes up, she goes, that thing you did about the beer. I said, the beer, what do you, I thought, what beer? Drinking the beer. I go, oh, I don't drink, I go, oh. And in my mind, I thought, oh, Thomas can't suggest. Just when you think you've so I changed it, and I still changed it to let's go shoot some hoops, which is still sounds funny. Back in the time, somebody saying let's shoot hoops. I mean, they wouldn't even say that, so it's still funny. It's might even be a little funnier, but it's amazing to me how I have scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. And it's not even that I'm trying not to be offensive. It's that I want everyone included. I don't want anybody to stop and say, okay, I see an agenda coming here. Because my only agenda is I want you to enjoy yourself when you're with me and have some good takeaways to take, to your work and in your lives. That's my only agenda. So, but
and you do it so well.
Oh, well, I'm a work in progress, it's just, you're never done. You never master it.
No, you're so right. And you have to be mindful where you share. I remember I was in Minnesota with a healthcare group, and I just thought it was a funny story. And it was about, Al Walker's wife. We love Margaret, but I used her as my character, and she teaches juvenile delinquents and in South Carolina, and she loves it. And she's just a little old Southern Belle, and she talks like this. And I just love my little boys and girls, my little juvies. But she said they have heard every single thing. So they are very well versed at a young age. Mm-hmm. So she was at her little classroom right in Columbia, And she made the comment. She said, boys and girls, something very strange happened to me. I was eating breakfast at my kitchen table and I looked and there was a snake wrapped around the leg of my table. And one of the little boys said, well, what did you do, Miss Walker? She said, well, I ran next door to get the hoe. And he said, well, what did she do? Well, I knew you'd like that, but 2 women out of 1,000, of course.
Sometimes I think, darn it. If we don't have a little edge, we're gonna just get up there and do balloon animals. I mean, it's not Children's birthday
hand
party.
puppets.
I know hand puppet, shadow animals. I mean, we're not. You got to have a little edge, and we're all adults. Sometimes something like, but you know what? I'd be like, well, but sometimes that's the only thing that's going to work. I mean, you can't go or you can't try to. You have to tell the story as it happened, and it's just. I don't think that's I don't know personally, but. My offstage, I can enjoy a lot of things that I don't necessarily. I mean, I don't consider that I'm phony or I'm a hypocrite or anything like that. I just don't bring all of me up there. And it's funny. They say, be yourself. No, we're begging you, don't. Because we're not the same. We're not the same with our audiences as we are with our pastors, as we are with our spouses, as we are with our pets. I mean, I get up the audience. Who's a good audience? Who loves their speaker? You love my speaker? You love your speaker? Good audience. I mean, we don't speak. We do have different selves. And so I feel like I'm just not bringing all of me. And I don't think they'd want me to, Frank.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. I'm a lot. I need to rein some of this in.
Oh, I know. And then there are times when you get up there and everybody's just so hype, you think, I'm going to throw that in and see what happens. And just for fun. And I've had some, great success just playing with the audience once they're right here. And you can have a little fun with that.
I consider it a treat. And I will tell them that. Say, you know what? You guys have been so great. I'm going to tell you about my trip to the gynecologist. Which I don't normally, if they're really with me now and it's just,
They go, yeah.
And again, it's just, there's nothing, I've been working on oh my gosh, Jane, I hate to admit this, but I got mixed information about when you can stop going to the gynecologist. Well, guess what? The answer is never. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I heard that, you can wait 5 years. Let's just say it was a while. And
I gotcha.
I was too embarrassed, but I said, you're going to do this. I was too embarrassed to go back. So I actually went out of town. I found somebody so I could lie. And you know what? I lied and I still got a lecture. But the funny thing is, I'm noticing I keep getting demoted. I remember I used to see a doctor like all the time. Now you call and you go, well, you can see a doctor, but it's going to be 9 months away.
No
now,
kidding.
The nurse practitioner is like a doctor without the medical degree. Yeah, so am I. So which is actually, I'm joking because they're wonderful. That's all I see now is nurse practitioner. Well, I call this new place, or as my dad would say, outfit. I call this new outfit. And they said, well, you can see a doctor, but it's going to be 3 years, whatever it was, or a nurse practitioner, but that's probably like 3 months. But the midwife can see you tomorrow. I said, well, well, why didn't everybody just take a gander? Super medical records can see you right after lunch. I mean, you keep getting demoted. It's like, anybody can just come. Now is it just cobwebs and dust? Is that what
That's the way you feel. It was so funny because you get real attached to my gynecologist, and I won't say his name out of respect, but he lived to be 101, and I was still going to him. My mother said, "How you?" And I said, "Mama, he knows me so well."
Yeah,
I guess he does. But bless his heart, they had to completely stop letting him practice because you hear the train. Sorry, we got a train coming through. There it goes. Yeah, baby. There it is.
I get him too. Woo! Maybe I'll get one.
Oh, I'm glad you can't hear that.
I hear a little bit, but it sounds weird.
That's a big train. It's got one engine. We call that a big train in Johnston. But he didn't, for lack of knowledge and expertise. That wasn't the problem. Bless his heart. He backed into 5 cars and they couldn't afford the insurance to keep him at the practice.
No
But
kidding.
I'm telling you, when this darling girl called me named Shamitra, and she told me that he wasn't practicing anymore, and they would tell the older women, one of them just went right down, boom, fainted, because she couldn't tolerate having someone else, examine her. So, you get to be real close and chummy to your gynecologist. Well,
Yeah,
some of us
well,
do.
it's
I love
literally
that
up for-
man.
well, I went to this big place and there was like several doctors, and I got to where every time I went there, I saw someone different. So I never really had that attachment. I also moved around a lot, but so they had, I don't know how, 10 rooms. I don't know, big place. Well, I was
Yeah.
squirreled away in the back one. And believe it or not, I must have been really tired because I had on the cape and I had on the skirt and I laid back and fell asleep. And I woke up and an hour and a half had gone by. I go, what the hell is, excuse me, I'm sorry, what is going on? And so I got dressed and I go creeping down the hall and they go, what are you doing here? I go, I don't know. I have an appointment. What do you mean? They go, he went to deliver a baby. They forgot about me.
Oh my gosh.
But I tell
Well,
you,
at least you got a nap. That was happy hour at the
Well,
gynecologist.
if you could
Yeah,
fall
you
asleep,
should tell
that's
that story. Happy hour at the gynecologist.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I got a whole
That's
thing
so
about though looking at my chart, and they had a sketch drawing. I said, "What is this?" Was he down there doing his little art school project with his paint palette and his beret? And they go, "No, that's you." I go, "It looked like a map of Georgia." And then they had 2 arrows pointing. And I go, "What is that?" She goes, "Oh, you got a little problem there around Savannah."
There are a lot of problems in Savannah, let me just tell you.
Yeah.
And here's Paula Dean right over there. Oh, what's the RuPaul? Is that RuPaul or RuPaul? You could have all kinds of characters. Lord,
Oh,
you know
goodness.
what?
Does
You got-
RuPaul live in Savannah?
I don't think so. I just
Oh.
made that up. What's
Okay.
it? Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and it was
Yes.
introduced that character. I can't remember. That's not RuPaul, but might as
Yeah.
well be. Okay, let's just take
Okay,
that.
gotcha.
But yeah, that's funny. Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
I know.
So because this show pretty much was a springboard from Jeannie's Wonderful Folks, I know everybody wants to know, when you think back on our wonderful Jeannie, what all she meant to you and what you learned from her. I mean, this could be like 3 weeks. I know, with me too.
Oh, well, yeah. How do I
Well,
even
y'all on the
summarize?
tall peg together. I love
Yes.
that. Tell
Now,
about the tall
in
peg.
the National Speakers Association, there's something called a tall peg. And by the way, your friend Randall Reeder
I
was
love
the
Rand.
very first person I met in 2005 at NSA Ohio. You walk in, you don't know anybody. There he is, dressed as Will Rogers with his cowboy hat and his rope and his leather saddle bag. And he walks up to me, and goes, how tall are you? What kind of a pervy organization is this? The second I walk in, you want to know my bra size too? I mean, where's this end? And he starts rambling on about Jeannie Robertson, the tall peg. And it was just I didn't know what he was talking about. And eventually I came to learn, when you're a tall woman, and by the way, people go, how tall do you have to be? Let me tell you something. If you're a tall woman, you know it. You don't have to go, oh, I don't know, am I tall enough? You've been told your entire life. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, I went to the convention that year, and what it is, Jeannie started this years and years ago, I think in the 80s, started this tall women's group. And it's, we meet for breakfast. We used to meet, we still do actually. We meet for breakfast on the day of the Monday of the convention. None of this is important, but anyway, we meet for breakfast, and then we split the time. There might be 3 women, there might be 20. You just never know who's going to show or what. We split the time, and then we go around the table, and Jeannie used to give us little assignments. She goes, I want to hear your best marketing idea. And we would tell little ideas. I know one time, from a former Miss Utah, another pageant lady. Yeah. She was with her and Mark Eaton, who was 7'11". 7'11". Now they were going to do some sort of a program together. She goes, we need a name. I go, I got it. Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. That's nice. Jane.
Yeah. So that's what we would do. And over the years, and then, Jeannie with her time would tell us what all she was doing. And this is before she really had hit, but she was still a hugely successful speaker, but it was before the viral videos and all that. So, she would tell us things like, I saw that it was National Volunteer Week. at the White House, and they were going to celebrate at the White House. She goes, I do volunteer work. So I volunteered to go and speak. So now she had on her resume, I've spoken at the White House. She's just brilliant like that.
Oh my gosh.
And
She
nobody worked hard, but I wouldn't call her a mentor or a friend. I would say, I would consider her a friend. She was a friend. And we wasn't like best friend. I had her cell phone number, but you know what I mean? But I felt, and over the years, it was many, many years that I knew her, that if you add it all together, I'm like, I really got to know her pretty darn well. And so I was at a dinner in Columbus, Ohio with some other speaker friends, and Barbara Glanz was coming into town. And so a bunch of the speakers, like 6, 7 speakers, said, hey, we're all going to have dinner with Barbara. I said, great. So I thought, let's join and have. So Barbara, one of the speakers there really liked Barbara, and she's kind of gushing all over and everything. Barbara got a little uncomfortable. She goes, wait a minute. She goes, let's go around the table. She wanted to take the focus off herself, I think. Let's go around the table. Everybody talk about someone who inspires you. So when it got to be my turn, I said, Jeanne Robertson. I said, first of all, so funny, but really to me, one of the most inspiring things, I don't know if people realize her work ethic.
Oh, goodness.
She worked. She just
all the time.
Well, she had 8 hours of material on DVD.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
No repeats. I mean, it was, and so that inspired me probably honestly more than anything because of where I was at. And so anyway, she says, you got to tell her. You got to tell her. And I go, okay. Now remember, our relationship is that of two humorists. We're always joking around, laughing, having lots of laughs. Now, the next year at the convention, because Barbara Glanz told me, and I've told Barbara this story, she just howled over it. After they told me, I said, Jeanne, can I talk to you for a minute? She said, sure. And we sat down, and no, it wasn't. It was after the banquet because Tony, her assistant, comes up, and I could tell they have a code. Okay. This is how Jeanne gets pulled away if she's, because she comes up and she goes, I got you a glass of wine. And I think that's code for, okay, let me go, but she didn't. She waved her off. And I'm telling you, it was she waved her off. I said, and I got all serious. I started tearing up. I said, I just want you to know. I forgot the most important part of the story. Jeanne had a few health problems. Now, nothing like towards the end, but she'd had some hospitalizations, some health problems. This is maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. And I said, Jeanne, I just want you to know that you, and I've never been like that with her. We're not like that, Yeah. And I said, I just want you to know how much you mean to me. And she looked down, she goes, you think I'm going to die. And we started laughing. I said, Barbara Glanz made me do this. I said, this is so uncomfortable. I said, I am sorry. I'm sorry I said this. I'm sorry I brought it up. It was dumb. I said, I'm not comfortable with it. And we just roared over it. I mean, we just, you think I'm going to die. I said, what? No, Barbara Glanz. It's her fault. Yeah. So that's going off on poor Barbara.
I think all of us were in awe of, when they found her, sadly, and she had departed, but she had all of her material. She was still writing stuff.
I heard that.
Just unreal. And
her last breath.
Yeah, constantly looking. And you're right. The work ethic was unreal. But I got to go back to, did you go to our national speakers meeting when we were finally back and we were in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Were you at that one?
Okay. That's the time we spent 7 hours at the Delta Sky Club.
Oh, good Lord. How could I forget that? We ate so much. We all gained 20 pounds in 6 hours. That's right.
We were just great all day long.
They were going, this is the Delta Sky Room. Please put your mask on. Only if you're not eating. And we'd go, jam stuff.
When are we not eating?
Yeah, and then when we got there,
remember,
my God, 24 hours of being either in the airport, on the plane, and then that check.
Oh, I know, I adore.
But we got to jet ahead and talk about what happened to us with the Uber.
We do. Oh, but first, before we get off this, I have to tell you how I struggle with foundation wear. I've determined I just don't know what I'm doing, and I'm too impatient to try stuff on. And the year I got my CSP, I had a ton of pictures saying I'm in my gown. I had worn this strapless bra, but it kept sliding down and it pushed my boobs down. So I had this uniboob above my waist. And then I thought I could get, I didn't know the slit in the dress was as high as it was. So I wore knee-high cheater hose. So I'm posing. I got my leg out with those knee-high hose, and my boob, my one boob is down around my waist. I'm like, what happened? But I kept pulling it up, but it just pushed everything down. It was a nightmare.
One of the most
struggle with
important
foundation
moments of getting your certified speaking
I
profession.
know. And I thought it was so cute. And when the pictures came out, I was just like, oh, I pranced around and I wanted everybody to see me with my medal on, So, I mean, I'm posing.
Oh my gosh.
Knee-high hose. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Lord, those things are cruel. If you don't have the right outfit and you got a slit, you better peel
I've
those
got to
babies
stop.
off.
I grab it and I go, ooh, that's really cute. And I throw it and I just think, well, I need a strapless bra. Okay, I'll grab some. I have to stop that. Try everything on.
Oh, no kidding. I've learned that the hard way. I got what I did with the other day. I have the same pair of style shoes, blue and black, and I just threw them in, and I had a blue shoe and a black shoe. I thought, really? And I thought, you know what? I'll just wear the blue shoe and the black shoe, and I'll make fun of myself. Oh my gosh. Of course, I pick up 2 left feet. There was no way I could do it. So I had to run to the mall and buy shoes to get back to the speech in time. It was so ridiculous.
Oh my
mean, you are right. You've got to be so careful. And I remember when I went on Jeanne's show, speaking of she was really incredible with what she thought. And Naomi Rhodey did the same thing. These are all speaker friends of ours. But you go in her closet, and Jeanne it was like a bar, I say that for a kitchen bar, that you would put your clothes in and then the drawers. It was brilliant. And Naomi said, no, well, you put your suitcase on top and you go in the drawers and you get your clothes, and that's how you pack. And that's how busy speakers live. And I thought, I got to do that. Now we got a house that I couldn't do that. My closet wouldn't accommodate. But just clever things like that. I remember. But you're right. You've got to try on everything. And if you're out of town, it's going to be a problem.
I know it.
I've left more stuff. But Kay and I in Orlando.
All right. Let me set it up.
All right, you set it up. Set it up.
Uber angel, how I love you. You are my Uber angel and will be till the end of time. So that sets up the story.
That's so funny. And I tell you what, that you were so calm. But what happened was we got to the Orlando airport and we got in line with, thank goodness, Sky Priority. We both.
First of all, let's back up. We shared an Uber from the hotel to the airport.
We shared an Uber. And we're in line, and I'm pulling out my ID, and Kay looks around and says, I can't find my purse. And I went, and I'm thinking, where's the last place? Well, you gave me money to split for the Uber fare.
Right.
And so we all of a sudden knew it was there. And you were as calm. You were going, Jesus, take the wheel.
Take the Uber wheel.
I mean, and I'm going,
Uber wheel.
This was the only form of communication that we had, was my little phone with the Uber. And thank God you didn't get the Uber driver.
My ID, my phone. Think if I had gotten the Uber on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't have contacted him.
Oh, it was terrible. And I mean, so we called the number. Everybody said, well, you called the number, right? Oh yeah. It defaulted to Chicago.
Let me back up here. First of all, as I thought back on it, I wasn't calm. I was frozen. They talk about fight or flight, but there's also frozen. When you were stressed, I actually was frozen. I couldn't do or think and do anything. I did not know what to do. Oh my God. Jane jumped in. I mean, she's talking to him. She's texting him. She's chatting with them, with the Uber people, and say, this is time sensitive. We tell the Uber driver, the two ladies, come back to where he dropped off the 2 ladies from the Rosen Shingle. Tell him to call us immediately. And they say, we reached out. We don't know what to do. We have to wait to hear from him. Well, call him again. If he doesn't answer, he doesn't. Well, call him again. I mean, I've never talk about a problem solver. You jumped in.
I couldn't leave you. I just couldn't. And when you went inside, and thank goodness you've got enough status because of your diamond medallion, which is awesome. You got your boarding pass without your ID.
I did.
And you got that. Of course, you had to fly later. But I don't know if I told you about that Delta flight attendant that came out and was smoking a cigarette. And
Tell 'em.
did I tell you this part?
Yeah.
Because and I thought, God, I shouldn't tell Kay this, because boy, she was a real problem solver. May I just say, she
You
was
told me
not.
later. You didn't tell me that day. You told me later.
When I told her what happened, and she looked at me, well, you know, he's probably stolen everything she owns and just going to pick up his girlfriend, and they're going to honky tonk or something. And I went,
she's
no,
really
no. Thank you so much. I was asking her how long I had before I had to get on that little tram thing to get to my gate.
right.
And so I was trying to think how was the least, you know,
Because,
how long
because
can I
you had
stay?
to catch your flight. You couldn't spend the next 3 hours with me. You know, you had to go, and you had allowed a lot of time. You were there about 2 hours early.
I
That's
always
why
like
we
to
had
do
time
that.
to-
Yeah.
What?
I
Yeah.
always like to do that, thank goodness. But when I had to leave you and the thought hit me, somebody said, Alberto, that was our bellman. And I said, now, wait a minute. Maybe they know him. Of course, when I'm in TSA pre-check calling, and it says, ma'am, do you know how many Uber drivers? I said, but yes, somebody said Alberto. And it might be by accident, it might be by design. I don't know. But find that bellman. And then I'm getting ready to hand my driver's license to the TSA, and the phone rings, and it's Alberto, who speaks no English. That was another problem.
No English. Now I heard the
No
rest of the story.
English.
Yeah. So
Oh.
go ahead, because this
So
I
then
wasn't with you then. I was sitting
I held up
outside.
the phone. Well, I held up the phone in TSA, and I said, who speaks Spanish? And crickets. And I said, come on, y'all. And somebody said, I do. And so she went back and forth. And I heard the magic word, 15 minutes. I was so happy. Well, I was running through the airport, holding up the phone like an idiot, going back through, and you're sitting there on the bench trying to wait for his little blue car, or purple car, whatever.
Every car that went by, I looked and looked. I did this for like an hour, and I sat there. Hottest day of the year in Orlando. I'm sweltering. I'm just melting out. But I don't dare. I had to go to the bathroom. I was thirsty. I didn't dare move. I thought I'll miss him, but I didn't know if he'd show, if he'd get I didn't know until here comes Jane running out. 15 minutes. He'll be here in 15 minutes. I'm like, hallelujah, amen. Jane,
thank you, Jesus. Jesus took the Uber
Jesus
wheel.
took the Uber wheel.
But so you were remarkably calm. I was frozen. I was
frozen. I was not calm. I was
frozen. The
frozen.
thing is, I got to the Delta Sky room, and they wouldn't let me in because Thomas forgot to give me the new platinum card for American Express. And I'm in there bartering with the girl. I said, please let me in. I've got a picture of it on my phone. She said, we don't do that. And you walk in and go, hey, I made it. And I went, good grief, you got here before me.
I know. And I actually have guest passes. I could have actually just taken you in there. You
know? Oh, Lord, I was just freaking out over that.
And then your flight ended up being delayed.
Yes, they shut the airport down because of the weather. So we were sitting pretty for a while, and we ate again like we did back.
Jane, time we spent in Delta Sky Clubs.
I know. Right. Remember, I went to get ice cream, and I think that was my first son. You said, "Give me that ice cream," because I think you were detoxing from the stress, and I was about to go crazy.
Oh. There's like 6, 7 other speakers. It's like the convention just kept going on. We sat in the big pit, these big couches, and just chit-chatted away till finally everybody. Oh, and you kept getting those false alarms. Oh, we're going. Yeah. Oh, no, we're not going. Oh, we're going. No, we're going.
Oh, I'm going to my gate. And turn around and comes back. I'm going, I'm not leaving because I know how these Delta Sky Miles people do now. Get in that room. There's like a line that goes down all the way to the Keys, and I am Florida Keys, and from Orlando. I am not giving up my spot. I won't get back in.
Yeah.
So, but that was, I got to know you, and I just love the way I just fell in love more than I had been, and you're just incredible.
Well, we got to hang out some at the convention too. That was fun. We got to hang out some because
oh my gosh,
you definitely took her by the hand, and I got to know Tara. We had a meal together. We had lunch together one day.
That was fun.
Yeah,
and, she's moved to Nashville now. She had a picture of the big moving van.
Yeah, I knew she was going to. Yeah, good for her.
I'm so proud of her. I mean, she's jumping in, honey. She's jumping. Well, I mean, in Jeanne, she won Jeanne's talent clean comedy competition.
Right. Sure did.
And then I reached out also to Debbie Childers, who was part of some of the comedy. Debbie did a good
nurse. Isn't
job.
She a nurse?
Yeah, and she's hilarious.
Oh, she's funny.
Just
and plays
natural.
Guitar. I did a show with her one time. Humor workshop in Columbus. Yeah.
Well, I like her too. I mean, I just feel like, and that's a story for all of us, that when I think back and I get stressed out, only thing that comes to my mind is Uber. Remember Uber?
Oh, and every time I've been in 2 Ubers or more than that. I was in 2 this yesterday. I think of you. That purse is, the Uber driver must think I don't trust him or something. I'm like, holding on to my purse like I'm,
Yeah. You know what I told you when you've got your purse, you went, oh, I'm so glad I got my purse back. And I said, girl, you need one of them big things. And I said, you won't leave that. I called that this is a satellite purse. And I say, you got to get a mothership,
I know. Well, I bought this. It's a Bagalini or something. I don't know, but it's got like 45 zippers. I thought it would make me more organized. I spent my whole life zip, unzip, unzip. Not there, not there.
I've learned. I do the bottomless pit pocketbook, and I'll have a hissy fit and I'll dump it out, but I'll find it quicker than the zipper purse.
I'm about to.
Can't do that. I just can't. My brain does not function.
I'm about to. Yeah.
I got a zipper problem. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
So, but you really have a wonderful career, and you're busy, and you and I've been sharing clients, and that's so sweet because we both bring the same kind of platform skills in terms of the comedy, but I want everybody to go to your website and just see. Your website is absolutely beautiful. I just love it. I love the colors, the whole deal. And so tell folks how they can get in touch with you, Kay, for speaking engagements. Talk about your book. I saw the book. I'm sure you've got more than one book.
I don't even have a copy around. I just packed a whole suitcase of them, and now I don't even know where it is. The book is called The Funny Thing About Stress, and that's the title of my most requested keynote, because it lets people know that it's going to be about stress management. There will be some tips, because I'm definitely a speaker. I call myself a former stand-up comic or humorist, but speaker. Really, I consider myself a speaker because I do. I'm really proud of the message that I bring, and I love getting the laughs. It's so gratifying. But when somebody comes up and says that thing you said about letting go of things you can't control, I just needed to hear that. And I also like when someone says, "Oh, I needed to laugh." Anyway, that I can help people. I hope that I do. But if anybody wants to friend me up on Facebook, you can see my name there. It's Francis with an E. So my website is kfrancis.com. So pretty easy to remember. So yeah, hit me up and yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And I do think in the world we live in, because we went through a horrific time with COVID, and people are just coming up for air still. I think now we're hearing more things are happening, but people are so hungry for humor and encouragement and the stress factor. I remember I was speaking and you and I both do school nutrition, and it was last year. I was in Arkansas, and I had a whole funny thing. And Kate, as those people came in, they had lost so many precious members of their Arkansas and SNA family. So I had to reboot what I was going to do. I wasn't going to hit them with so much comedy. I was going to try to be heartfelt and sensitive, because I'm telling you, they were in grief. They were grieving. And that's one thing about being on that platform, a gift that I've seen in you. And I watched you work the stage of that comedy night, and it was all funny, but I know you have the gift of being sensitive to your audience. And so many people just, that you got to be sensitive and see the nuances, what's going on out there.
You'd be surprised. You can listen to them, and you listen by looking and listening. That sounds strange, but if everybody's going to their laptops, you better drop that story or tighten it up. The audience is giving you feedback all the time if you just pay attention. And
that's
so many times speakers, they go, I wrote a new keynote, and they throw it out there. I'm like, without ever testing any of it? They just present. Whereas it should be more of a dialogue. For me, it's more of a conversation. Now, some people are very present, and I am in some ways. I kind of combine the styles, but I also like to think that I'm talking with them.
Absolutely.
There's times I'm in presentation mode when I'm doing a bit and I'm doing a character or something. But then there's times when I'm just having a conversation with them. I'm telling them things I've learned or things I've been through, and then maybe a little story or anecdote to support that. And sometimes it's just, everything I do does tie into some kind of point. Now, I may go 10 minutes with just laughs, but it does tie in somehow, some way. And as a humorist, that's okay too, because as you know, we're also delivering an experience. Otherwise, they can just read a book. Why do they need?
That's exactly right. And you bring it. I will tell you what,
Oh,
you are
you do
one
too,
talented
girl.
person. Well, I'm just honored that we've gotten to know we've known each other, but
Yeah.
that experience
I know.
with
We'll be
Uber,
forever bonded.
oh my gosh, I've told that story so many times, and I'm hoping to take it
Oh,
maybe to the platform, but by the time I get through with it, you might not recognize
and
it.
isn't it funny the different people's reaction about the
Oh
purse
my
in the
God.
Uber? Different people are
Yes.
like, "Oh, so how
Oh,
long did it take to get it back?" And they're like, "Well, I bet you never see that again." Like that flight. It's interesting to
oh
me. It shows you
gosh.
people's immediate level of trust for just an average person. This is
And
just an
how and now
average
people see
person.
the negative and the positive,
Yes,
like, oh gosh, so y'all worked it out. That's teamwork. Oh,
yes,
oh, she said that. Oh wow, you didn't need that energy vampire. So there's so
right.
many lessons in that
There
whole
really there really
story.
were.
Yeah.
It's a good story. I think you should tell it because it's really,
Well, I'll tell you the truth.
I haven't told on stage, I've just told a lot of people, but it's, because the funniest part to me is, "Who speaks Spanish?" I just
And I didn't say what I really said was, "Come on, y'all, we're in Florida." And I said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." And somebody said, "I do." I was so
That's
thrilled.
I
Well, I've had a
know.
ball, Kay. Thank you, sweetheart. And
Oh,
I
absolutely. This
appreciate
has
you
been
being my guest. And you've just been amazing. We just got to do this again and try to have some more funny moments we can share.
oh,
It's
yeah,
been
well,
great.
just yeah.
But
I mean,
thank you so, so much.
oh, you're so very but thanks for having me, Jane.
Oh, I
Goodness, I
loved
hear you
it.
had Willie Jolly and Tara Brown. I don't know who else, but
Yeah, I had
you,
Lou
got some
Heckler.
you had
And
Lou?
yeah, I
I
had
gotta
Lou
get caught up. I
Heckler.
gotta
Oh
watch your shows.
man, it's on my Pearls of
Yes, tell people
Laughter.
where they can,
Yeah, and then it streams also to my YouTube streams, so you can pick up the ones before. I had Patrick on. You know, everybody loves Patrick,
oh, everybody loves
and
Patrick.
oh, he's the best. I love him.
He's
He
so
is. Now
sweet.
you talk about funny. He's a funny guy,
He is a
but
funny guy.
he just said, "Oh, I just happened to have my guitar," and he was playing his guitar for everybody because they remember him because he was just so sweet to
Well,
Jeannie.
they were tight. I mean, anybody knows Jeannie knows Patrick.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean,
And Tony and Norma Rose,
he
who's
was one of
hilarious.
her characters.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then Jane, Jane's wonderful.
Jane
And the
Tucker.
wardrobe, Jeannie, and everybody, you feel like because of Jeannie, you feel like you knew these people.
Oh, yeah,
Like you're at
sure.
a dinner party with them, like when
And
Norma Rose and I got
she might
friends.
stretch the
God.
blanket a bit, but she really drew that's who they were. I mean,
Oh,
that
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I was on Jeannie's show, Norma Rose just walked in and sat down, and I went, oh, just she was just precious. I loved her. But
oh my
Jeannie
goodness.
was very, she just loved people, and needless to say, people loved her.
She was loyal. She's a
Oh
loyal
man,
person. I
she
mean, and she
loved
likes
her fans.
tradition. That's why she
Yes,
loved the tall women and kept it going for years and years and years, and why Tony still works for her.
Tony's still
Tony's
doing
still
Tony.
working.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, honey
So
bun, thank you for everything. I
absolutely.
appreciate it. You're
This is
awesome.
my Uber queen, my Uber angel. All right, dear. You take care.
Big hug.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Oh, this was so fun, y'all. Just had a ball. Isn't Kay the best? But please check her out. You will absolutely love her. And if you need a great speaker, she's right there. But thank you all for tuning in. And we've got some exciting folks coming up. I can't wait to announce. Bye now.